Hello students, right now I'm going to explain about the continuation of the structure of the atoms. Last time we started already about the scientists who discovered the proton, neutron and electron, and also how to fill up the electron into the subshell. Now we are learning about the shielding by inertials. Comparing between hydrogen and helium, hydrogen contains one electron and one proton, while helium contains two proton and two electron. So helium, electron and proton has greater nuclear charge than the hydrogen. Okay, why is it like that? Because of the attraction between the proton and the electron. The more electrons in the in the first shell, will create more nuclear charge than the less number of electrons. And then there is an ionization energy, is the energy required to remove 1 mole of electron from 1 mole of elements in its gaseous state. So the elements must undergo atomization, and then the atomization, once it become atom, then can remove the electrons. As see the data here, hydrogen has less first ionization energy than the helium. It's proven that helium requires more energy to remove one electron from the shell. Okay, and then there is a decrease here. There is decrease for the 1s orbital continues as the proton number increases. So if the proton number increases, this one decrease is true for other orbitals. The reason is that the number of protons in nucleus increase, the electrons in particular orbital attracted to it more. So there is a strong attraction between the proton and then the electrons. And then let's see this one, the distance of p orbital and s orbital is the distance from the nucleus. S orbital has closer distance than p orbital from the nucleus, because s orbital is located the closest to the nucleus, while p orbital is the further from the nucleus. And then because of the further this one, that makes the nuclear charge uh, is not weak in P, so it is getting stronger. And then also in similar, also in d orbital. So there is a shell, subshell S, P, D, and F. Okay, and then all the electrons in the outermost shell, to some extent shielded from the nuclear charge by the electron in the inner shell. So we know that there is an electron, the outermost shell electron experience less nuclear charge than the inner shell. Why? Because the inner shell give a shielding effect for the outermost shell, from the outermost electron to feel the nuclear charge. So this is called as the effective nuclear charge. Okay, you can see here from the graph the attraction of the 1s, 2s, 2p, and then 3s, 3, and then 3p, and then continue 3d. 3d has energy which is similar to 4s. That's why but 4s has more energy than the 3d. Therefore, we have to write first 4s and then 3d. And then next, let's continue. This is the way how to write electrons in each orbital. Start from 1s and then 2s and then according to the energy level. This is called as the rule for writing the electrons in orbital. Now, electron spin and Pauli principle. Electrons are identical. Electrons, they are occupied in in s orbital, and then p orbital consisting of 3, px, py, and pz. So all electrons must occupy. And then next, this one, the electron, two scientists already investigated that the electrons, they have a magnetic dipole moment. There is an attraction, there is a magnetic attraction. And then how do we express the magnetic attraction of the electron? The magnetic force is expressed in direction. There is a up and down, clockwise and anti-clockwise. Okay, so in one orbital, if there are two electrons occupy the same orbital, then both of them must have the opposite spinning direction. That is called as Pauli exclusion principle. Now about filling orbitals. Filling orbitals, number one rule, we have to see the number of protons. Number two, we fill up the orbitals according to the energy level of the orbitals. And then for subshells, SPDF, we have to occupy all the orbitals with same direction of spinning. And then after that, there is an excess of electron can occupy, then the extra must occupy the orbitals in different direction of spinning. The procedure is known as Aufbau principle. Okay, and then here, this is the way. Look at this one. This is the sulfur ending with 2p4. This is the direction. So all must occupy in the same direction spinning, all go up. And then there is a one extra electron that need to be placed in 3p, and the last one must be in different spinning direction. This electron is not allowed to be placed in the second one with different spinning, not allowed, because according to the rule, must occupy the orbitals first. All orbitals must be occupied with the same spinning direction, and then if there is an extra, the extra will occupy the same orbital with different spinning direction. Okay, now let's see the ionization energies. Ionization energy, there are two terms. Number one is first ionization energy, is energy to remove the first electron from the outermost shell. And then the second, number two, is successive ionization energy, is the energy required to remove the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, until all the electrons in the atom. Okay, let's see the successive ionization energy of magnesium. So magnesium here, this is the ionization energy, the successive ionization energy, the first, second, third, fourth, until the 12th. This is the first shell. The first shell means it is located in near closest to the nucleus. The third shell means it is located in the outermost shell. From here, look at specifically this one. From this one is not very clear, the gap from here, the second, and then the third from the second is not significant. In order to make a significant difference, we have to convert all this energy into log base 10. Look at this one also. This one is the same for magnesium. Look at from the outermost shell here, 3s2, and then jump to 2p. Look at this one is huge gap. What does it mean by huge gap? If there is a huge gap, means this one, there is a jump of the electron from the outermost to the inner electron. So this one is the first outermost electron, this is the second outermost electron, and this one is the electron in the inner shell. When the electron from the inner shell is taken, there is a huge gap of energy. Next, this one, first ionization energy. Ionization energy is always endothermic. As we go down the group, the ionization energy decreases. The larger the atom, the easier it is to separate an electron from it. Why? Because of the strong increased shielding effect. We know that goes down the group, there are more electron shells. If more electron shells, then the outermost shell of electrons will experience more shielding from the inner electron. This is the trend in the group. And then for elements for the ionization energy trend across the period. Across the period, the number of shell is the same. But there are more electrons occupied in the same shell. And then also there are more protons in the nucleus. As we know that if there are more protons and more electrons, the nuclear charge is getting stronger. Okay, so from left to the right, the first ionization energy increases. But there is an exception. General increase across a period has two exceptions. The first two periods, this occur with group 2 and group 13, and between group 15 and group 16. Okay, let's later we are going to discuss. Now the endothermic nature of the ionization energy. Why is it endothermic? Because of the electrostatic attraction between electron and the proton. Of course, it's very obvious. If two persons are holding hand, in order to break the bond, it requires energy. When it requires energy, it is endothermic. And then the group trend. Nuclear charge experienced by an outer electron, effective nuclear charge. The more electron shell, more shielding effect. That makes the first ionization energy to be decreased down the group. Okay, and then the periodic trend across the period. Of course, across the period, as I said, the number of shells will be the same, but there are more electrons in the shell. More electrons in the shell and more electrons in the nucleus. More electrons in the shell and more protons in the nucleus. It creates more effective nuclear charge. If the nuclear charge is more, it means it requires more ionization energy. More energy is required to take the electron away. And then the exceptions. There are two exceptions, as said before, between group 2, 12 and 13, group 15 and 16. Look at between boron, two exceptions across the period. In boron, the outermost electron is in 2p orbital. The average distance from is larger than 2s. Okay, the other we would expect therefore outermost electron in boron to less electrostatic than outermost in beryllium 2s. So the ionization energy of boron is less. This is beryllium and boron. Okay, beryllium and boron. Beryllium is in group 2, boron is in group 3. This is the exception. We know across the period it should be increased, but this one is not. I have stated the reason. The other exception is the decrease in ionization energy of nitrogen and oxygen. This occurs when with the fourth 2p electron is added. Okay, let's see the based on this one. Nitrogen. Okay, nitrogen and oxygen. If you make the electron subshell electronic configuration of nitrogen and oxygen, you will see the reason much better. Okay. Okay, this one, let's see the nitrogen. Nitrogen has 7 electrons, and then oxygen has 8 electrons. Okay, let's see the arrangement. The asexual electronic configuration for nitrogen: 1s2, 2s2, and then 3p 3p3. There are 3 electrons occupy in each orbital of p subshell. So in the p subshell, one orbital occupy 1 electron. Now in the oxygen, oxygen has 8 electrons. Same arrangement: 1s2, 2s2, and then 3p4. Remember, 3p4. It means there is one p orbital that has 2 electrons, and then the other 2 orbitals is only half filled. So for nitrogen, orbitals, 3 orbitals only half filled is considered to be much more stable than there are 3 orbitals with 1 orbital filled and the other 2 orbitals half filled. That makes the first ionization energy from nitrogen to oxygen to be decreased, which is exception to the general trend. Now, the effect of electronic configuration on atomic radius. Okay, so at the first sight, the radius of an atom might seem an easy quantity to visualize, but as we saw in figure 2.16 and 2.18, so the outer reaches of atom have an ever decreasing electron. Keeping in mind, we can use the theories developed above to predict how the atomic radius might change with the proton number. Okay, so here we can see from this one. From the diagram here, these elements are arranged according to the same like periodic table: lithium, beryllium, and then there is a transition metal, and then there is boron, carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen, and also fluorine. And group non-noble gas is not written because noble gas is stable. This one, down the group, the radius increase. Why radius increase? Because down the group, more electron shell. More electron shell, the distance between the outermost shell from the nucleus is much bigger. And then across the period, we know there is a strong attraction between the proton and the outermost electron in the outermost shell. So it has more attraction that makes the electron will be pulled inside the nucleus. That makes the radius to decrease. Okay, so this is the end of the chapter 2. So to summarize, the ionization energy down the group to be decreased, and then across the period should be increased. I stated already the reason earlier, with the exception of group 2 and group 3. Another exception is group 5 and group 6, because these two groups, this comparison, they will decrease, which is against the general trend. And then the atomic radius down the group, the atomic radius increase. because the distance more electron shell more distance, but for across the period the distance is the same, but there are more electrons in the same shell. More electrons, more protons, more nuclear charge attraction. That makes the electron from the outermost shell will be pulled inside towards the nucleus. Okay, so after this we are going to have exercises of structure of atoms.